starting to gain weight, right? There were medications that I was on that were making me gain weight, but I was like, what can I do to kind of reset the balance, reset my clock, reset my biome, reset and start building better habits? So the first thing I did was did a fast, right? 3 days, no food, just liquids, right? And when you do that, you reset your biome. Your body thinks you're starving or going to die, and it goes into survival mode. It starts kicking out precancer cells. It starts resetting your biome, starts killing off bad bacteria. So you start there. And then I went vegan for 3 weeks. And I didn't eat any animal products for 3 weeks and started losing weight, just losing weight from those two things alone. Then I had a colonoscopy because I knew I was going to have one. So I just started this whole process before I had my colonoscopy at the end of the year. And just the prep alone for that. Have you had a colonoscopy yet, Frank? All right. So tell me about your sleep problems, Frank.
So one of the issues I have is my children wake me up and then I can't go back to sleep.
Are they sleeping in the same room with you?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Do they get up and stay up, or are they just getting up and like, I need a glass of water, I gotta pee kind of stuff?
I need a glass of water. I need my sippy cup, or I need to go to the bathroom, and then I can't go back to sleep for some reason. So I'll stay up like hours and hours at a time.
Okay.
And oftentimes my kids will wake me up throughout the night. So they'll wake me up at like 1 a.m. They'll wake me up at 3 a.m. They'll wake me up at 5 a.m. And I have two, so both of them take their turns, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, it's fun. So our kids are off from school this week. Our daughter was up till 3 a.m. last night on the
Yeah.
phone, right? I had to get up really early, 5:45 for a call with China at 6. So I usually go to bed at 2 in the morning, but I went to bed at 10 last night.
Yeah.
And we've got a 4-year-old in our bed, like between us, like an H. So me, my wife, and then an H between us.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. But I'll tell you, um, I'll give you the checklist of what we do to get to sleep and stay asleep.
Love
Do you
it.
have a sound machine in your room?
I do not have a sound machine.
Okay, so sound machine is number one.
Love that.
Number two, like, gotta pee right before bed. Obviously, make sure that they're hydrated and they're peeing before bed.
Yeah.
I also have I use a track on what do you use, Spotify or Amazon?
I use Spotify.
Okay, so Spotify has a track called Wet Water. This will immediately get your brain into waves to sleep. So it's just crashing water. I put it on repeat. It's on my night table all night long, and it just keeps me subdued. It's pretty amazing. And it took like years ago, we were practicing hypnotherapy. How do you put yourself into a trance and be able to control that trance and be able to go to sleep and relax your muscles and all that other stuff and quiet your brain? Because the most important thing about sleeping is being able to just turn off the other side of your brain
Right.
that's trying to talk the whole time. So this track is called Wet Water, Elements of Nature. And I must have listened to it. What's 8 hours a day times 7 years, right?
Yeah.
That's how many hours of this thing my brain has listened to. So I can get on a plane, I can have a cup of coffee, I can lay on the couch, I can put my earbuds in and put this track on, and within 5 minutes I'm out. So that's what you're doing. You're training your brain to get into a groove. And once it's in the groove, unless I turn that off, my brain is not working. If I don't turn the sound machine off in my room, my brain will not wake up. So it's like hypnotizing yourself, right? And it's cues. So with sleep, um, kind of a program that you write for yourself, or like how do you get into a routine, a pattern of behavior? And that pattern means you're going to go to sleep. So usually everybody in the house is asleep before I do, but I get ready for bed, take my meds, go upstairs. It's dark. I get down on my knees, I pray, and then I get in bed. And within 2 minutes of getting in bed, I'm out.
Love
So
that.
it's all about routine, man. If you can program yourself in a routine, find a track that works for you. They actually did a study recently on what happens when you're sleeping and kind of how do you get yourself into those brain waves. I think they're either delta waves or theta waves, but we can do some fact checking and put this on here. And they put a a track that just immediately gets you into it, and it was very similar to this study, and it helped people to get into deeper sleep. So not just getting to sleep, but getting into that deep, deep sleep. Do you track your sleep? Do you have an Apple Watch?
No, I should get one.
So that also helps you track, what's going on with you.
What is the other thing? It's the Aura Ring, right? Where it's a
Yeah.
wearable
I know
that
Marissa
tracks.
has a ring, right, that tracks your sleep and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I just wonder how accurate it is, and I'm also trying to figure out how do I get back down into deep sleep. If I look at like my patterns, like immediately after I fall asleep, I go down into deep sleep,
yeah,
and then I'll get into REM a bunch of times, but I'll never get back into that purple deep sleep. But Apple's got a great tracker. I think it even works if you're not wearing an Apple Watch.
hmm.
But
We should definitely have Dr. Asif on to kind of explain whether these technologies work or not, or what's the
yeah,
scientific validity behind them.
absolutely.
And
I would love that.
I think we're definitely not where we need to be
Yep.
currently, but we're progressing, and
Yeah,
that's all that matters. Is that we're progressing?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
and
if you can, I mean, if you can measure it, you can change it. I mean, that's, basic business. So it
yeah,
also applies to sleep. And if you can measure how many hours you're in bed and how many hours you're sleeping and what your cycle is, you can impact it. And
yeah,
I've got, 5 years worth of sleep data here, so it's helpful.
yeah.
But
I've also I think for the listening audience, eating healthy, taking proper nutrients, minerals to prevent yourself
vitamins.
from getting hunger pains regarding um, or like food noise related to things that you shouldn't be eating. You know,
Oh yeah.
these are things that are ideal. Um,
Yep.
you know, use preventive medicine when necessary, and use acute care medicine when necessary. And I think preventive medicine is just as important. So I think everyone
Yeah.
that's listening should be focused on their health, focused on their well being, energy wise, uh, exercising consistently, doing sauna. Based on a few studies, this is just what I've heard from Dr. Peter Attia. He said that going to the sauna 3 times a week for 20 minutes reduces all cause mortality by 200 to 300%.
Yeah, I can believe that.
I
Also
always feel good when I
massage is
go
great.
into the sauna. I'm like addicted to the sauna right now, actually.
Are you? Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
hooked on massage. Sauna's great. I don't, I mean, we don't really, I don't use the sauna that much. I used to have a gym that you could go to and, use the sauna in the pool, but um yeah, big into massages right now. So I just got a membership at a spa down the street. And, once a week I've been going for an 80-minute massage. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but
What about
it's amazing,
massages
man.
are so amazing to you right now?
Oh, it just drains all your lymph fluid. Really get deep into there and like massaging really deep and it's also good for I clench my jaw at night. So when I'm sleeping, I tend to clench my jaw and I can control it during the day because you're like, oh, I'm clenching my jaw. Let me do something to change that. But when I wake up in the morning, my jaw's really tight and sore. And I'll usually have a headache. So this masseuse just got way deep in my jaw, in my muscles and the muscles in my face, showed me how to do it as well. And I've been sleeping much better too. It just helps you to let go of all that tension that your body carries. But lymph drainage is important. Moving your fluids around your body through your interstitium and through your organs is really important for health. Gets rid of all the toxins, right? Pulls it right out through excreta, and I think massage is just great for your muscles, especially after a good workout. So I'll go like right from karate right to the masseuse, and I'll sleep like a baby.
I
So
love it. I love it.
yeah, sleep is important, man. It's the foundation for good health. If you're not sleeping, 7, 8 hours a night, you're gypping yourself, and it one of the reasons why sleep is so important is it drains out your cerebral spinal fluid and kind of flushes your brain. When you have that foggy feeling in the morning and you wake up after 2 hours of sleep, it's literally fog in your cerebral spinal fluid. So your cerebral spinal fluid is what surrounds your brain, goes up and down your spinal cord, and it's how these neurotransmitters are carried, flushed out, and kept keeping your brain kind of fresh.
I would
And
actually love
so,
to have a sleep expert on eventually.
yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be great.
Yeah. Go
So
into
when
the
you
science,
get
the deep science of it.
Yeah, when you get sleep and you turn horizontal, your kidneys kick on. As if you're hydrated, you're flushing all that fluid. And by the end of the night, your brain has exchanged all that cerebral spinal fluid and you can wake up feeling clear and a lot better. And that's why people can die if you don't sleep for days or weeks on end, because that's just getting toxic, right? All those toxic chemicals that are in there that the body's trying to remove don't get flushed. So hydration is huge, diet is huge. Um, and there's also certain times of day that you should be eating certain things. UConn did a study years ago that had to do with sleep and serotonin production, and they were looking at amino acids that are in certain types of foods and proteins. And it said, when you wake up in the morning, eat protein, and then between meals is when you eat your carbohydrates. So you eat protein at meals and maybe vegetables, and then in between you have a cookie or a cracker or something like that, which takes the tryptophan, converts it into serotonin, which makes you happy during the day. So that's good. And then at night, after you're done having your last meal, you have another snack of carbohydrates, and that converts your serotonin into melatonin, and that helps you to sleep. So it was really fascinating. I'll try to find that study. We can post it on a link and just show, when is the optimal time to eat what during the day for the best sleep and happiness,
So
really.
whenever we're doing a fact check in the editing process, I'm telling the editors to look for the word show notes. So show notes.
Nice.
Whenever we want to fact check something, just say show notes, and then we'll fact check it.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
we're going to pause for a second from this podcast recording because somebody wants to say hello. So I
Oh,
apologize ahead of time.
hey.
Can you say, hold on one sec. Here. Can you say hi to Frank? Say hi, Frank.
Hi. How are you? You want to join the podcast?
Are you going to be on the podcast today? You can be a guest. Do you want to be a guest? No, you don't want to be
You're
famous?
shy. How old are you?
Tell Frank how old you are. 1, 2, 3. Good. And how old are
Three.
you going to be in a couple of weeks?
Wow.
You're going to be 4. That's right.
Wow. You're getting old.
You're definitely getting old. Can you believe it? All right. Say goodbye to Frank. Tell me you see him soon. All right.
Aw.
Adios. Can you take that plate and put it in the sink, please? Thank you. Good job. All right. So, and we're back. So, yeah, it's fun. But I mean, this is stuff that excuse me, this is stuff that I studied because it was, difficult for me. It was hard. I slept terribly for years. It was awful. So I said, how can I sleep better? How can I feel better? And it all comes down to diet, exercise, stressors, and hypnotizing yourself.
Yeah. Just avoiding being overweight and obesity is going to increase your lifespan and health span by tremendous amounts of time. So,
100%.
you know, it's crazy that when you're overweight, you actually lose more sleep. You're more of an insomniac. Uh,
Yeah.
and I know people that take Ozempic. I have a cousin that takes Ozempic, and I have positive views of GLP-1s. Uh, there's some side effects potentially, and I think
But is that something that he has to be on for the rest of his life?
yeah, it's
Her.
her. She's always had weight issues from a young age,
Yep.
and she's always been on yo-yo diets, and her not yo-yo diets. She's always been on diets and had yo-yo weight gains
Yep.
and
Gain and
losses.
loss. Sure.
Yeah, and if somebody has an issue, I don't know. I don't know the science behind why people overeat or whatever the case may be, but if I think it's an alternative for people.
Yep.
And I think there could be side effects, sure, but there could also be side effects if you're obese.
Yep. Oh,
There's
absolutely.
200 plus potential side effects of being obese versus the what six side effects potentially of taking Ozempic.
Yep.
There are potentially severe side effects of taking Ozempic, like pancreatitis. There's studies, or there's, I don't know if there's, I don't know the studies on this, but
Yep.
thyroid cancer, somebody said, those are very rare occurrences. I think
Yeah.
very,
And
very,
it's
very rare.
just
And
a
but the thing is, if you're obese, the chance of getting cancer is skyrocketed.
Yeah,
You know,
and cardiac issues, cardiovascular,
cardiovascular
diabetes,
issues. Yeah. So
neurovascular.
I,
Sure,
I think we look at things simplistically, overly simple. We overly simplify people's circumstances, and we say, why
sure.
don't you just work out and diet? Of course,
Yeah.
that's ideal, 100%.
Yeah, at the same time, so I mean, I was listening to Sebastian's podcast this week. He was touching on GLP-1s, and you hear about, our new Health and Human Services Secretary talking about GLP-1s, and I hate to say this. I kind of agree with him, is that, for $1,500 a month, I can get a personal trainer, I can go to karate
Oh,
and put my
yeah.
whole family in karate. I can shop all organic. I can do all those things for $1,500 a month. And I think having the right coach, having the right doctors, having the right dietitian, or access to the right food solves a lot of issues, right? And I'm not, claiming I understand what your cousin's issue is, or where that started, but yeah, people use food as medicine. They use it as a stress relief. They use it as something to run to when they're feeling anxious. We Our most intimate, and I'll say this twice, our most intimate relationship besides people is with food, right?
Right.
And so it's something that we do multiple times a day. We get into habits with food. Food is an interesting topic, but it can help us or it can hurt us.
But again,
And
yeah, but again, like oversimplifying things. Sebastian's more on the anti-pharmaceutical drug camp,
yeah,
and don't get me wrong, I am to some extent as well, but I
sure.
also am not a cynic. I'm more of a skeptic as opposed to a cynic.
Yeah. No, does
Um,
it work? I mean, yeah, it works to help people lose miraculous amounts of weight. At the same time, I think after the weight loss, you still have to get to the root of the challenge, right? Because let's face it, even if Ozempic is making people lose weight, we're still talking about your gut biome,
of
your
course,
neurological, symptoms, and everything else that comes with that, right? Um, I think going for some primary, function first, and then solving it, and
but
then
yeah,
using
this is
that to
where
maintain. Yeah.
oversimplifying things is not ideal because
Yep.
you don't know people's circumstances, you don't know what they're going
No.
through, and
100%.
to oversimplify things and say, well, just go to a personal trainer and diet and whatever the case may be.
Yep.
You don't know what people's financial situation is. You don't
Oh
know what
yeah, I get it.
people.
I get
Uh,
it. I just think that health, if we're going to talk about something that, might be covered by healthcare, and we're going to try something like Ozempic, which is a lifelong thing, first we should rule out, hey, listen, could we spend that same budget for the next 3 months to try something like getting a nutritionist or getting a dietitian or getting a personal trainer, all those things, because it's going to be in the long run less costly and much more transformative.
agreed. But that has to be like an
Yep.
individualistic thing, as opposed to
Yeah.
like, for example, on a statistical level, if we bring down obesity by 60% in the population, that's
Yep.
going to save the government tons and tons of Medicare expenses, Medicaid expenses.
Sure.
So, I think there's a value I think in GLP-1s. Obviously, I don't like people taking GLP-1s, when they're trying to, lose their love handles and trying to lose 12 pounds or something like that.
Sure.
You know,
Oh no.
uh, that's probably not ideal. Just get in the gym and work out. But if you have, like a 55-year-old uh, obese person who's had weight issues their entire life and who has extreme food noise their entire life, is also
Yep.
potentially a single mom or somebody that just doesn't have, the benefits of proper lifestyle to do the things that are necessary.
Yep.
That could be a good candidate,
Sure.
and I don't rule it out. Everything's a risk benefit analysis, right? And that's what doctors go
Yeah.
through every day. There are risks of taking any pharmaceutical drug. There are side effects of taking any pharmaceutical drug, 100%. There's
Yep.
also high risks of being obese. There's
Yep.
high cancer risk. Like we talk about thyroid cancer potentially with Ozempic, which is a very rare occurrence. But you have like probably I don't know the exact number, and I'd have to look at the studies, and we'll probably put this in the show notes. So show notes,
Sure.
but there's probably over 1,000% increase chance of getting cancer if you're obese. And
Okay.
I would
Well,
guess. I would guess.
I would love to see the data,
I want to
but
see the
at the
data
same
too.
time,
That's why I'm saying I
I
don't want
think
to claim that I know the answer to that, but there's
yeah,
probably
I think for radical weight loss, if it's something that can be done temporarily and then build a lifestyle and a diet and exercise around that, because once you're losing weight, you're going to want to stay that way. You're going to want to maintain it, and you're going to want to learn how to live a healthy life. Because listen, pharmaceuticals are a good short-term solution, but if you have to be on it for the rest of your life as a result of taking it and losing weight, that's a big challenge. And I
I would
can't.
I
I
would guess.
can't yeah, I can't judge anyone for that. I mean, I take if you look at the tape from 3 4 years ago, I take hair loss medicine because I don't want to lose my hair, right? It
Finasteride,
was
yeah,
getting really thin,
yeah.
finasteride, minoxidil, and now I have to take it forever. And if I stop taking it, guess what? I'm going the way of the Frank. I'm gonna lose it all. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'll grow a nice beard, but
I,
I recognize that it's I'm on that treadmill, and if I stop walking on the treadmill, I'm going to have a problem. But
I would venture. I would guess. I would have an educated guess that there's over an aggregate 1,000% increase in all cause cancers.
okay, are we
Yeah,
taking bets now? Are
I
we
mean let's check.
placing bets? All right. What's the over
Studies
under?
studies on obesity and chances of cancer. Let me look at this. This is why I love AI because you just look things up. You know,
Oh yeah, it's helpful for that.
obesity is linked to higher risks of at least 13 types of cancer. Uh,
Yep.
and endometrial cancer, breast cancer, colorectal cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Um, there's 13. The American Cancer Society estimates that about 8% of all cancers in the U.S. are attributable to excess body weight.
Hmm.
Holy shit, that's scary. Reports that obesity may account for 40% of endometrial cancer cases and 25% of cancer cases, kidney cancer cases in the U.S.
You're just
Uh,
trying to cheer me up today. What's this all about?
I'm
So
just
let's talk. So
I'm just saying like one thing that I learned, and this is the journey I went through was with my dad. I had this whole uh, philosophy when my dad went through the stint in the healthcare system of pharmaceutical industry is evil, and
yeah, yeah.
um, I had that whole thing. But the thing is, when I was projecting onto the pharmaceutical industry was perfection, and
Yep.
really it's about risk benefit analysis. So like
Yep.
for example, if you're taking chemo, for example, if you're taking chemo, uh, the risk of the cancer itself is worse than the chemo, even though the chemo can be toxic, right?
And
So
the cancer is
everything's
going to kill you. The chemo might kill the cancer first. It's a race. It's a
and
race against time.
and based on my research, and I'm no physician, but based on my research, certain types of cancer have a high chance of getting rid of it. But there's like 99% in testicular cancer. It's like 95 to 99%.
Yep.
If you take chemo early on in stage 1, stage 2,
Sure.
and it's funny because I have I have friends that are like super anti-pharmaceutical. I'm skeptical. Don't get me wrong. I'm 100% skeptical, but I'm not a cynic, and
Yeah.
that's a difference.
Yeah, I think
I want
that's
to look at
fair.
the studies. I want to look at the studies. I want to look at you know what are the randomized controlled trials? Is there a meta-analysis that things like that? I'm
Mhm.
not automatically a cynic of any pharmaceutical drug. Um,
Yeah, no, and neither am I, but I do have a lot of questions, and I am skeptical, and there's a lot of stuff that we need to fix about the pharmaceutical industry. Number one being the cost to American healthcare providers. And when we talk about the cost of, getting well, it shouldn't cost you your livelihood as well. And there's a lot of ridiculous costs that are put on the American consumer as a patient that you're not going to find in other countries, in Canada and Europe, and those same treatments are a fraction of the cost. Now, I do want to talk though about just small changes, right? Like so recently, I was starting to gain weight, right? There were medications that I was on that were making me gain weight, but I was like, what can I do to kind of reset the balance, reset my clock, reset my biome, reset and start building better habits? So the first thing I did a fast, right? 3 days, no food, just liquids, right? And when you do that, you reset your biome. Your body thinks you're, starving or going to die, and it goes into survival mode. It starts kicking out precancer cells. It starts resetting your biome, starts killing off bad bacteria. So you start there. And then I went vegan for 3 weeks, and I didn't eat any animal products for 3 weeks, and started losing weight, just losing weight from those two things alone. Then I had a colonoscopy because I knew I was going to have one. So I just started this whole process before I had my colonoscopy at the end of the year. And just the prep alone for that. Have you had a colonoscopy yet, Frank?
Uh, no, not yet.
No, no, no. All right. Well, after you do, you're getting close, man. You've got another 5 years, but you're getting close. Um,
Probably should do it early.
colonoscopies are not bad. It's amazing. My wife drops me off. I go in. They wheel me into the back. I change into a gown. I lay down on a bed. I wake up on the bed. I go out to the car and I go home. It's so easy. There's like time travel. Nothing faster. But the prep is monstrous. And the prep is, the first couple of days. So you're fasting for a day. You're on, a liquid diet, and then you just flush everything out of your system. Like, we're talking about stuff that was there for years. And so you're resetting your biome. You're flushing out all your bacteria, good and bad. And so between that, the fasting, the vegan diet, and just cleaning everything out from start, I got to start over and build my biome. Um, Another thing that I think I mentioned before is resistant starch. Have you heard about resistant starch?
Hmm.
So resistant starch is like carbohydrates that you would normally eat, rice, quinoa, things that are going to be in everybody's diet, potatoes, but doing it in a way that once you cook it and then you cool it and then you heat it up again, it has a lot harder time being digested by your small intestine, which is what it goes through first after your stomach. And it goes down to your large intestine and feeds good bacteria. And that means that it's easier to digest things. There's less stuff fermenting in your small intestine, and it leads to weight loss because you're not absorbing the calories. So you get about half as many calories from the rice, half as many calories from the quinoa as you would have if it was cooked fresh.
Right.
So look up resistant starch. We can put a note here on what that looks like, and it's one of the ways in which people are losing weight and taking control of their blood sugar and so for diabetics or anybody that's struggling with glucose, one of the things you can do is switch from cooked potatoes to cold potatoes, potato salad. It's going to be a lot harder to digest, and it's going to be much better for the gut. So there are other side effects that can lead to bloating and other things, but once your biome is balanced, you're going to be in a much better weight category. You're going to be happier. Your gut is producing those chemicals that make you happy, make you alert, make you awake, make you sad. I mean, your gut biome has so much to do with your mental health. It's ridiculous.
Why don't we
So
go into politics here?
yeah.
This is what we like to talk about.
Oh,
Uh,
sure.
we're diametrically
Which part of the
opposed.
shit show do you want to know? I
I
don't think
think
we're diametrically opposed. I think you're coming around to realize
eh.
the grift that we've been set upon. That's been set upon us.
So there's certainly there's certainly mistakes that are to be made, but the idea of looking at where we're spending money, how we're spending money, and trying to take waste away from our budget, I think that's overall a good thing. I don't know how anyone could argue against that. One,
No, I don't think
and then
anybody would argue against getting rid of waste. It's who's getting rid of waste and who has access to our Social Security, our bank account, our IRS records, and Elon Musk is not the answer. Sending in a team of 20-something-year-olds to investigate government efficiency is an absolute joke. The conflicts of interest, the national security threat for one is massive. If you want to do an audit of the Pentagon or the Department of Defense, who is missing $500 billion or $1 trillion every time they do one, that's a great place to start. But I don't think this is really
Of
a
course.
economic efficiency thing. I think they're trying to shut down Social Security and break it so that it can't be remade. And you're giving someone a hammer to go in and deal with systems they don't understand, or that are so complex
First
that
of
they
all,
can't be messed with.
one thing I would say is the one thing I appreciate about you is that um, you're not like most, like not most, but not like a lot of people on the left, which if you disagree with them in any way, they like literally don't want to talk to you.
Yeah,
Um, and they want to cancel or whatever the case may be. I think we're aligned on a lot of things. And I would say I'm more of a centrist than far right person. I would say I'm more of a
yeah.
centrist, and I can go either way. I can swing either way. Right now, I'm swinging more towards Donald Trump, unfortunately. According,
I don't know. I don't know what it is you see in him, though. I don't understand what aspect of, like, you're a smart guy, Frank. You believe in real leaders and
of course, 100%.
logic and intelligence and all that. I just don't find any redeeming qualities with that individual. Elon Musk has his pluses, but I think right now uh, he's on a rampage, a ketamine enhanced rampage, and he needs to be stopped. Somebody has to stop him from what he's doing. He's
I
going to
think
break things he can't
he's already
fix.
had a ton of access to personal information with regards to PayPal. I don't see what his motive would be.
Yeah, but PayPal is not my social security number. It's not my
In a lot of cases, it is depending on what you're doing with PayPal. Right? There's a lot of social security numbers that are shared on PayPal, especially if
okay.
you're getting like a loan or you have business entity stuff, and so yeah, I think I just don't know. I understand the idea that people don't like Donald Trump, and because they don't like Donald Trump,
But it has nothing to do with me not liking him. Like, he's a despicable individual, but that's not why I'm upset. I'm
yeah,
upset because of the incompetence. But I also feel that the incompetence is a plus. If he's incompetent and the people he surrounds himself are incompetent, then he won't be able to do as much damage as he plans to. Listen, Donald Trump is a Russian plant. He's a puppet that is doing the bidding of Vladimir Putin. Period. It's there. I mean, he met with him the other day to talk about the future of a country that Putin invaded without that country involved, and said, "We're going to get to the bottom of it. We'll make you a deal," and then turned his back on Europe and the Ukraine. That's dangerous, and that's unprecedented in terms of just going on a whim.
do I agree with all the tactics that Donald Trump uses? I think he has a overall hidden agenda, and
Yeah,
he's using some of these things that he says in public as a way to uh, as leverage in negotiations. That's what
yeah,
I think. That's primarily his goal with
yeah,
regards
and
to
I
the things
agree.
he
And
says.
listen, I think he's a good negotiator. I think he is. Um, He's dangerously vulnerable as a negotiator because of his ego and other things. He's one of the most compromised people on the planet, right? Everyone knows his weaknesses, his, the ability to get on his good side by praising him and, catering to his ego. But I don't know, man. I think that he's been bought and paid for by Russia since the 1980s. And I think they were grooming
So
him to do this.
here's my stance. Here's my
Yeah.
stance. And I understand a lot of the things that you're saying. There's certainly criticisms that you can make of any
Where's
leader.
the lie?
What?
I mean, debate me on it. Tell me that, what I'm saying is unproven. This is all, factual stuff. He's been groomed by Russia since the 1980s.
I think even even the care that he has towards cutting government spending is a care that is unlike other presidents, and the fact that he's hiring the arguably the best entrepreneur that we've ever had to cut government spending in the way he's cut spending in his companies. Sure, governments don't work like companies. I get that, but I
And
think
his companies
there's a
don't
lot of.
work like they used to either.
Okay, I
So,
understand, but like to put a focus on getting rid of waste is not a bad idea. Now you can criticize how it's being done. I think there's a lot of transparency around what they're doing. It's being shared across social media, and I don't have an issue with what they're doing. unless it
So
cuts.
you
Hold on,
want
hold on,
some
hold on,
22
hold
year
on,
old?
hold on,
Okay,
hold on.
go ahead, make your point.
Unless where I would have an issue, and this is where I would turn my opinion. This is what would
Yeah,
shift my opinion, is if we cut something in required essential services. So Medicare, Medicaid, people that need, the medical treatment that is required for them to survive or for them to feel comfortable. Uh,
yep,
I'm definitely into universal healthcare personally, just based on personal experiences. I don't know the answer to how we implement universal healthcare, whether we do it federally or statewide. I don't know. Like maybe we do something like Romney Care, where every state does it, and then but it has to be mandated by the federal government. I don't know. Um,
yep.
but I don't know the answer to that. I'm not smart enough, or am I knowledgeable enough to understand how to implement something like that? But
Yeah,
uh,
same. I just think that right now the quality of healthcare that we get is a direct result of having a middleman that sucks up all the value and makes us pay exorbitant prices for both premiums and
yeah,
deductibles and the cost of healthcare. So what we have right now is not working. I don't know if you had a chance to watch, but there's a great
no, of course not.
there's a documentary on Max called "Who Is Luigi Mangione," and it talks about really what he was trying to expose.
What?
But also, I just want to approach some of those topics you said. Um, One of the things you should do immediately is go on the Social Security network on the federal site and um, print out your benefits, right? I qualify right now at 46 years old for full benefits because I've worked the amount, I paid into the system, I paid the maximum amount of taxes you can for Social Security taxes. And my wife, who doesn't work, hasn't worked for 20 years, also qualifies because of what I paid in. Now, I want a concrete record of that. So today I printed it out. I put it in my safe. I've got my, everything stored and saved so that if Elon Musk goes in and says, "Oh, whoops, we broke Social Security," when I turn 67 years old, the government owes me $4,000 a month. I paid into that. That's a benefit that
Yeah,
it's not a privilege. It's not a, hey, it's not
yeah, agreed,
guaranteed.
agreed, I agreed.
We've paid into that. And so the fact that Doge is going in and saying, "Oh, we found $50 billion in waste or $200 billion in waste," or whatever fantastical number they're claiming today, and we're going to send every American $5,000, is a grift because what they're doing in the background is they're going to make more cuts for billionaires and millionaires so that they don't pay as much taxes, and they're going to bankrupt the country. We need revenue for this country to work. And back in the 1970s and before that, there was a much higher taxable rate for people
Sure,
making those kind of livings,
sure.
right? Anything over $1 billion, if you're making $1 billion a year, that should be taxed at 50% or higher, 70%, right? There's no reason why anybody as an individual needs $1 billion today.
Well,
The fact that we're going to watch,
that's the argument of
well, we're,
Keynesian economics versus supply side economics, right? Do
listen, Keynesian economics is out the window at this point because if it was a free market and it actually worked, we wouldn't live in an oligarchy. There's balance in a Keynesian economic model. There's supply and demand. Right now, the wheels are off, and no economic models suggest what the future would be. We're just going to sit back and watch Elon Musk until he gets to $1 trillion, and that's really sad because right now I think it's three people control more wealth in the U.S. than the bottom 50% of people in the U.S. Right, so that's kind of a problem, right? And before I used to say, "Hey, listen, I don't want to live in a world where I'm the only one that's doing well, and my kids are the only one that's doing well. I want my neighborhood to thrive. I want my town to thrive. I want my state to thrive. I want the country to be doing well." And we're not in a depression because of um, you know, that we're not doing the right things. We're a service-based economy with a lot less manufacturing that we had. We're very dependent on places like Taiwan for things like chips and technology that is needed to run cars and planes and all the things we've got. But I think we need to get back to manufacturing, high technology manufacturing, so that we have something that is of value as part of our GDP. And it's just, that's the only way that we're going to compete.
Yeah, so Keynesian economics is more like government intervention into
Yep.
economics, and just for so the audience is clear, um, and it can help, and there's certainly studies that have shown that it helps in certain circumstances, but it also increases inflation potentially. And if you don't have the right person managing it, uh,
With the right
inflation
intent.
with the right intent, the inflation skyrockets. And there
Yep.
was too much corruption in the Biden administration, just way too much of it. And that's why I think supply side economics, I think, is ideal if you create an overall aggregate system that enables economic growth via entrepreneurship, things like that. The aggregate benefit is uh, everyone does better, even the poorest of us. Now, do I believe in cronyism? No, I don't believe in Amazon lobbying and pharmaceutical companies lobbying to buy politicians. I don't.
Oh my God,
I
this
don't believe.
cup really.
I, I was it.
My wife just brought me a coffee. Thank you, dear. But
uh,
this is what she delivered it in.
Thank you, wifey.
This is terrible.
It's okay. It's all good.
No, I got this in the beginning of the
Like,
campaign
like
before Biden showed his true colors. But
when I say I could swing both ways, I believe I voted for Obama first term, uh, and so I can swing both ways. I'm really more attracted to the person that's doing the governing as opposed to philosophical ideas, because any idea is just an idea, right? If you have the right person executing on the idea, then it's probably better for society. But overall, I think I like the idea of having a business person in office. Do I like everything? How Trump does everything? Not everything, and I'm not going to like everything about someone, but I like the
so,
idea.
so what do you think about Trump asking Egypt to and Jordan to take in 1.5 million Gazans and repatriate them?
I'm not educated enough on this to give a solid answer on it. I
Well,
don't know.
it's international law forbids it. It's called ethnic cleansing, right?
Right.
The removal of a people in part or in whole from their land. It's ethnic cleansing. It's thievery. It's theft, and that's what he suggested as some kind of simple solution for solving this crisis. And that's
This is a touchy subject, and I don't know the answer to it. But
so
if
that he can create a country club.
all I would say is if that is going to be implemented in some way, which probably is not ideal, right? But if it's going to be implemented in some way, if that's the case, then I would hope there would be somebody on the Gazan people's behalf that's negotiating very well and getting them land, property, and making them very comfortable because of the sacrifice they would potentially be making.
So
But
here's why it's
yeah,
a grift is offshore from Gaza there
yeah.
is literally I think it's natural gas. There's $500 billion worth of natural gas. And that's what they want to steal by kicking them off of the land, which is why it was completely destroyed. It had nothing to do with Hamas, had nothing to do with a war, had nothing to do with the attacks of October 7th, which were allowed, known ahead of time, and
Yeah,
so there's a lot going on
certainly,
there, but the
I agree
only
with
thing
that.
they want is a land grab and a resource grab.
Certainly, that's it's
So
weird.
yeah,
It's weird that it was allowed to happen. I don't know if it was just because of the protests that were happening in Israel,
yep.
but that the government was distracted. But I don't know.
No, they did exactly what they knew they were going to do.
It's
They
such a
did exactly what they
complicated it's
planned to do.
such a complicated circumstance, and to argue with full veracity on either side is just foolish. Uh,
Well, it takes information, and unfortunately, over the last 16 months of 500 days of conflict, I've had to
yeah,
watch, constantly have a feed of dying or dead people on my phone. And when that happens and you decide, well, this is not okay with me, you educate yourself and you find out why is it happening, what has historically happened to cause this, how does it stop, and what needs to happen. But
one thing I'm curious about is how when Lebanon was starting to enter the war, what was and they were starting to potentially attack Israel, and Netanyahu.
Israel had already launched.
Hold
Yeah,
on,
Israel
hold
had
on.
already
Let me finish.
launched.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
let me
Go
finish
ahead.
my thought. Israel systematically killed all the leadership of the
Hezbollah.
Lebanese Hezbollah, and my question is, why couldn't we do that with Hamas? If that's the case, I under like part of me is
Because
thinking,
having a boogeyman gives you a reason to continue,
yeah,
right? And if
yeah.
you kill all the leaders of the boogeyman, you have no reason to continue.
Part of me thinks that it's a very difficult circumstance. I don't really like to talk about it too much because I'm not I'm not educated enough on it. But um, part of me thinks that if I don't know, it's just really hard to.
It is tough. It is tough. It's a tough subject. It is complex, complicated, has a long history, but I just think we need to be honest about it. And I think people are waking up, they're educating themselves, they're reading on it. I've had the chance recently to meet neighbors who are from Palestine, um, starting a group called the Peacemakers Network to
Yeah,
help build community, right? We need to build community with our Israeli friends, our Jewish friends, our Palestinian friends, and get beyond what's happening today.
I think
There has to be a future, and
I
if we
think
don't create that future, it's going to be thrust upon us.
I think probably a better solution um, to the Israeli conflict, and I think there wasn't enough of a consideration of the Gazan people. Uh, there wasn't enough of that. There wasn't a thought process behind it. It was just more like a reaction of rage, you know, of why did you do this on October 7th, and we're gonna make you pay for this. I think
Yeah, but it goes a lot deeper than that, Frank. It goes a lot deeper than
I
that.
know, I know. This is a very
Yep.
sensitive topic.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I get it. I understand. Anybody that would be,
And if it was
lashing
just
out.
about that,
But
there's
hold on.
there's no Hamas in the West Bank, and it's happening in the West Bank as well, right? People are being killed every day in the West Bank for
There-
no reason. Children are being shot. It's pretty simple. That's not complicated.
Uh,
So,
agreed. Agreed. It's yeah, it's horrible. And part of me thinks that if we had a competent leader, we could have sent
yep.
in special forces and just taken out the leadership, and not
Well,
involved the freaking the citizens of
yeah.
Gaza. I think that would
Yeah,
have
if
been
that
more
was the
ideal.
plan, if the intent was retaliation or quote revenge or whatever it was to balance the scales, but it wasn't. It was to take the whole thing. So they dropped more than 6 times the amount of firepower of Hiroshima on Gaza in the last 15
It's
months,
silly.
right?
Yeah, it's silly. I agree.
Emptied
Silly.
our arsenal, billions and billions of dollars, more than all of World War II combined. So in one small 20-mile strip. So
Anyways,
on any closing thoughts? Because I've got to get to at 3 o'clock, but I wanted to spend some time today. I appreciate you getting suited up, looking great.
yeah, you should.
What are you wearing? What are you wearing below? Are you wearing sweatpants? What are you wearing pants? What do you
No,
usually
I'm
wear
at
when you
the
suit
office,
up?
man. I can't
Oh,
just
you're at the office. All
yeah.
right, no boxers. All right, good,
No
good.
boxes. I have done that before.
No,
I
it
think
works
you
perfect.
caught
It
me.
works.
I think you caught
Yeah,
me
yeah,
before. That was
it
funny.
works good.
Um,
Basketball shorts, but. So, what do you think? Are we going to head into another pandemic? Do you think the bird flu is going to take us a couple years to recover from? Why is the CDC site shut
I don't
down?
I don't like the I, look. I like the idea of us looking at NIH grants, but I don't like the idea of just completely pausing all of the work, the
Medical
wonderful
research?
the medical
Yeah.
research and all the wonderful work that the scientists are doing. I think administrative costs are um, a lot of the administrative costs are necessary components of what is being done.
So
Um,
why did the CDC get shut down? Like no, there's no communications about what's going on. The largest tuberculosis outbreak in American history is happening right now in Kansas. There's no talk about it. There's
there's an
measles
outbreak of measles
outbreaks
in Texas too.
in
I'm a huge
Texas.
I'm a huge believer in vaccines, by
So
the way.
tell me again how this business person is making our lives better. He's basically just doing whatever he wants, turning off the radio so that you can't learn about it, and making it illegal to share certain things about women in power or other things. Literally, we've already slid into fascism. Biden was a fascist. Trump is a fascist. It's a long legacy of fascism that we've been sliding into for decades. Um, but what does that mean for us? It means that we live in a much less safe world than we did 6 months ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago.
I
And
wish I I wish
we're,
I wish I could have experienced JFK as a president because that would have been he was for the people for sure.
well, I'll tell you who killed him too on our next episode. But
Yeah.
listen, have an awesome rest of the day, and I'll talk to you later, Frank.
Next week we'll start having people on.
Next week, people on. Sounds good. Thanks,
Talk
buddy.
soon.